Alana.
Yes.
Jaylo.
Yeah.
You were in the shower this morning.
Uh-huh.
And as you're aware of by now, I am into Clubhouse at the moment.
Yes, I think that's, I am very well aware.
So I'm scanning rooms and I find this thing on books.
Yeah.
I enter it and they immediately call me to the stage. I have no idea what the conversation is.
Yeah, I heard you talking and I'm like, who's he talking to? And then I realized, oh, he's probably in a book group right now.
They say, Rick, what books do you plan to read next month? So I gave like 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. And they say, all right, I want you to rate books you read on a scale. Oh. So give me a couple books from what would be 1 out of 5. Give me a 5 book. Give me a 4 book. Give me a 3 book. And the moderator's giving me the explanation of what, 5, 4, and 3 mean.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I guess it would be this, this, and this. He also suggests, well, some of those books that you talked about today sounded interesting. Would you mind reading the back jacket of them? And
right.
I'm at my girlfriend's house right now and says, well, we're doing a running list of books in our Google Docs. Mm-hmm. I'm curious. Would you care to add to this list? You have to follow my biography, go into Google Docs. I'm like, you know what? I'll be back next week. Let me do a more well thought out version of my list.
Oh my goodness.
And then I got off. Then a friend of mine had entered the room and I'm texting with him, get on stage. I want to hear you. Alana's almost out of the shower. I can't listen forever.
Yeah.
You come out, we sit down and I convince you to listen for a little while. You kept saying, we got to stop doing this. Finally, my friend gets up on stage and starts talking about books. And it seemed like the community really dug him, which is good.
I'm glad. But I have to say, that was probably one of the longest 5 minutes I've
It started out about 20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago. Okay, the longest 20 minutes. And that doesn't include the other people. Anyway. Yeah.
It was fun. It was a little bit nervous for me. I felt out of my element.
I did feel... Now, I personally, from what I could hear, I personally thought that you did not sound dumb or bad or anything. Because I would be probably a little bit intimidated myself. Because sometimes I feel like I'm not the most articulate person. And I try to be articulate, but then I'm like, well, how can I be articulate about things that maybe I'm not as well versed in? Like, I like reading books, but I don't read some of the books that they maybe have read.
Oh, yeah. These people were straight up geniuses.
I mean, they're smart. They are just smart as whips. And
I'm smart for a regular person. These people are like...
They're like the top of the line.
Yeah, work for the president smart.
It seems like it. Or maybe they work for the government. I don't know. Some type of... I don't know what it is, but they seem super smart. Or maybe they're like tech people. I don't know. But I noticed that they're very, very articulate. They seem very well versed in their books. And to me anyway, I don't know that I would be able to give a lot of insight.
I'm going to say this. My friend did a better job navigating the room than I did. In my opinion. What do you think?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I was a little bit, it was kind of touch and go there for a minute, but I would say yes.
Part of that, too, is not to make excuses, but I went up on stage as soon as I went into the room. So I didn't have any frame of reference. No, I just clicked the room. They said, join as speaker. So I pressed yes. And they're like, okay, Rick, we're talking about this, this, and this.
Maybe you should have listened for a little bit.
I know. Maybe I should have. Maybe they should have let me listen.
Yeah. You could have said not right now, right?
I could have. But
so let me just listen.
Yes.
You wouldn't have had to speak.
That's right, babes.
Yes. You jumped into that one pretty quickly.
I did.
That's okay.
Yes. But that was a fun morning experience.
I'm sure it was.
Well, for us to listen to that.
Yeah.
I got 2 followers out of that, babes.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Very good. How do you know that? Did they just send you a notification?
When I silently left, I saw that I had a notification and 2 people from the room started following me.
Oh, very cool.
So I did something right.
Yes, very good.
Yes, well, I'm up to 44. My goal is by next Sunday, the one coming up, April 4th, to be up to 56 followers.
And what does that mean?
That means people can see when I post stuff. Although, I had that weird issue last night, babe. So I do my room for blind guys. Mm-hmm. And I sent the link to a couple of people. I got 2 of my friends who came in from my link, and they both said they had trouble even using the link to get into the room. Yeah. So when I got on Clubhouse, and I still do this to a certain extent. I make it sound like it's been years, right? Mm-hmm. I would go to these rooms where they talk about how to get more people to join your specific room. And the suggestion at the time, like 2 weeks ago, was schedule a room ahead of time so people know how to join you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Last night, we're trying to go to sleep, and we'll get to that when we get there. I was listening to a room of London Clubhouse people. They were saying that they've noticed that within the last couple of weeks, when they do a spontaneous room, they tend to get more people who enter it. So I don't know what to take away from that. But they do say that the algorithm keeps changing, and it's kind of hard to follow it.
Ah.
Yes. How do you feel about what I just said?
It sounds complicated.
Uh-oh.
So what was the issue exactly? Do you know if it was? I guess you'll find out this evening, right?
What do you mean?
Are you gonna notify your friends through a link?
Or
are you just gonna have?
I'm gonna notify the one who I'm doing the room with, but then I'm just gonna play it by ear.
Right. Okay. So what was? Did you ever find out what the issue was? Why your friends weren't able to get to that link?
No, they both said that they have problems, that they're eventually able to find it, but it didn't show up immediately when they
That's
clicked on
very
it.
strange. Huh. Yeah. Well,
and I checked. I made sure it was the right link and everything. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yes. This week, I don't want to give too much away. Partially because this will be out after it happens, but I'm supposed to co-mod a room with somebody who's a little bit more well-known in the Clubhouse community.
I think it's really cool, though.
Oh, I'm super excited about it, but I sent her my Clubhouse info, and I'm just like, oh, I hope it came out right and everything. But I checked the link ahead of time, so.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, you will. So that's my Clubhouse check-in for the day.
All right.
Did you get a sense of why I enjoyed it?
Yeah. I do. I just remember you're like, you gotta listen to this. I'm like, okay. Then I did. I'm like, oh, okay. I understand very much.
Yes.
Why.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
In any event, Jaylo, moving off of that, last night, we had Carl Jr.'s for dinner.
Oh, yes. It was very good.
I stayed with the standard chicken bacon Swiss.
I decided to go different, and I had the Western bacon cheeseburger. It was really good, too.
I imagine it was. They have good stuff there.
It was good. It had barbecue sauce in there, and onions, and bacon, and cheese, and it just was. It wasn't too big of a burger, which is good, and it was really good. I will say this though, I've had better onion rings. But
I have too.
Having said that, and I had better fries, but having said that, the burger was really good. I liked my cherry Coke, and because I don't drink cherry Coke very often, and I liked it, and it was very good.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
It's a little bit pricey though. It costs almost $40 for 2.
Well, and keep in mind, I'm not on DoorDash, so I did not know that it was going to cost that much, actually.
If we order food today, I say we order pizza just because we can get it in bulk.
Yeah, and I'll have to tell you after this, but
about pizza or what?
No.
Give me a hint.
No.
Uh-oh. So I'd be freaked out?
No, I'm. Let's just say I'm not going to be able to provide today, but I think that pizza is a good idea.
Oh! You have less food in your fridge.
Well, I mean, if I had broccoli, we could make something, but I don't.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, babos.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, it's yours.
Yes.
Yes. And Alana's going out of town on Thursday, or else I might just get her some groceries. But
yeah, I'm going out of town on Thursday, so.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, So that was that. It was good. Yesterday was a good evening.
Before we get to the films we watched, you and I digged a little bit deeper into the Star Trek universe.
Yes.
I showed you the episode The Inner Light, which straight off the bat, it's hard for me to watch that episode without thinking about Far Beyond the Stars from DS9.
I get that.
And I think...
Well, I was also thinking about a little bit about The Visitor, but that's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I think it's because those three episodes play with time. In a creative way.
Yes.
But then I also connected that episode with lessons, because if you remember in another podcast episodes when we talked about lessons, right? Mm-hmm. When what's his name?
Captain Picard.
Captain Picard Jean-Luc Picard gets into that relationship with Commander, what's her name?
I forgot
too. And he was playing the flute, and I think she played the piano, right? And
yeah, some sort of keyboard.
And they were making music together, and he was saying something like, well, I had another life, I had a wife and children, and I played the flute, and, and I'm like, really? So, because he was telling her about his past.
Okay, I got to interrupt you. This actually came up in my blind men's group last night. Mm-hmm. One of us doesn't care about Star Trek.
Yeah.
And me and my friend who talked today are both pretty big fans. Mm-hmm. He was, I don't think he'd mind me saying this, little upset that I showed you the series, the Star Trek World out of context. And we got into it last night, and I said, well, you don't have to start at the beginning with TNG to care about the characters, because I showed Alana Lessons as the first episode. And he's like, I love Lessons, but he's like, then again, they do make a reference to the Inner Light.
Yes.
And my argument was, yes, but they do it in such a way that you don't need to see the episode first to get it.
I agree with you on that one, because when I saw the Inner Light, I immediately went back to Lessons, and I thought, oh, that's what he was referring to. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what he's referring to. But I thought it was really confusing, because I was like, okay, who is this woman? Well, why don't we get into that first?
Do you want to give a recap of the episode, or would you like me to?
I will try to. So I will give. You can fill in the details.
I've seen it like 5 or 6 times.
So basically, it starts off where it was this beam, right?
Yes.
So Picard gets hit by a beam. He goes unconscious, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, because his body's still there, but his brain isn't transmitting any signals. Come to find out, he's on this planet. I forgot what the name of it was. It's a beautiful one, I would imagine. And his wife, this woman named Aileen, is tending to him, but she is she's referring to him as Cayman, and she's saying, Cayman, you have to rest. You have a fever. You've been sick for about 3 days, I think it was. Something
like that.
You can't go outside. You have to rest. What is, there's something wrong. And he's like, where am I? Well, what is this place? And so he starts realizing that this woman is his wife, and they have been married for a long time, and she is like, you have to focus, because you've been talking about your ship and another life, and I really want you here, and I really,
By now this has been 5 years.
It's been 5 years. She's like, I really want you here, and by the way, I really do want to have a baby. And they're talking about it, and he's like, I was thinking about, what I want to put in the nursery. And she's like, are you serious? And she's like, yes, I'm serious. And they have a daughter. They soon have a little boy. Their little boy had a naming ceremony, and they name him after their friend who died.
Who we see earlier in the episode.
They name him Batai. And so several years pass. The daughter is, what is she doing?
She goes into kind of like science, like her dad.
Yeah, and he's like, that there's a boy that's really in love with you. And he's like, well, you always told me to find out the truth, and I really have to find out the truth before I do anything else, pretty much. And then Bataille gets into an argument with his father because his mother says, well, I think Bataille has found his passion. It's like, well, last week it was this, and this week it's, music. And he's like, no, I want to drop out of school. I want to be done with school so I can focus on my music. And he's like, oh no, you're not going to do that. And so they get into an argument. He eventually accepts it.
It's not that heated though.
It's not that heated at all, actually. Eventually he kind of accepts it and it's like, all right, whatever. Something happens to his wife, right?
She dies.
She does die.
And it's kind of sudden.
It
might be a stroke or a heart attack. We don't know the specifics. But we see him rushing to her side and she's dying. And the last thing she says is like, put your shoes away. This lady's obsessed with shoes. Yeah. She might have a foot fetish. Keep going, babes.
Well, and then in the meantime, they're keeping watch on Picard in sickbay. And
no, it's actually on the bridge.
Oh, I'm sorry, the bridge. I'm sorry. Whatever. They're keeping watch on Picard on the bridge. He goes into shock at one time.
Can I explain what happened, or you just want to go along with this?
Explain it, please.
They figured out a way to break the connection. So the beam comes from this probe that's kind of following the ship as they try to move away. They break the connection between the probe and Picard, and he starts to go into shock. So they have to reestablish the connection to make sure that he doesn't die.
I just realized something.
What's up?
The part when him and his daughter and son take him to see the launch.
We haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't gotten there. Okay. So his wife dies, and they go to he's playing with his grandchildren, or was that before that?
No, that was after. You're doing good. Babe.
Playing with his grandson, and I guess he has to wear a skin protector, right? He can't go outside without.
Because he's an old guy, or he'll get skin cancer, and
yes,
it'll spread to his kidneys.
But didn't he say something like, "This child will never have a normal life again"?
Yes.
Why is that?
He knew that the city was dying, that the planet.
Planet was dying.
Yeah, and everybody knew at this point, basically. But there was nothing they could really figure out how to fix it.
So him and his family, including his grandson, go out and see the launch of this probe. And while this is going on, the people, including his then wife, come back and say they were waiting. The reason why you are seeing the launch of this probe is they were waiting for someone to come back from the future to teach, and this probe found you and brought you back to the past from the future, so that now you have our memories.
And you could basically be a representative of our way of life.
Which is odd because he had the memories of him and this woman who was supposed to be his wife and their family.
That's not odd to me, but keep going.
Well, I mean, it's odd to me because I didn't understand.
They're a composite.
They're composite?
We'll get into this when we do analysis.
Okay.
Keep going.
I think that's all I have to say.
All right.
Unless you want to fill some.
He wakes up on the bridge, asks Commander Riker and Dr. Crusher how long he's been out for. They say only about 20, maybe 25 minutes. He leaves with the doctor to go to sickbay, and that's when the episode ends.
Right.
This is a very good episode. I feel that, and I'm going to say something that is maybe a little bit controversial. I think the reason people like this is because you see this character of Kamen in so many different areas of his life, from being married to having kids to becoming a grandfather to eventually going back to being Picard.
Yeah.
While I appreciate that aspect, I think it would have been a little bit more powerful had this been a two-parter, because you see him growing and you see his daughter getting older, but you don't really know them.
You don't. I know. You don't spend a lot of time with them. I think you're right.
I feel it suffers because of that.
Yeah, I think it should have been broken into two parts. I do agree with that.
And to me, this is why Far Beyond the Stars is better.
Yes.
Is because it's set in like one time in Benny Russell's life, right before the breakdown. I also think that episode should have been a 2-parter, but it works better.
But there was so much in that episode that it really did work.
Yeah, it worked better. Mm-hmm. And that also could have been a casting decision, right? Because in the Next Gen episode, it's new actors.
Yeah.
Right? And in DS9, everybody who's a cast member on the show just plays a different character when he's having the flashback to Benny Russell's time. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of weird to compare one episode to another, and it's different series, but it's still in the same universe. Mm-hmm. Now, having criticized it, I do think that there's a lot of stuff to like about this episode.
Right.
For only being an hour program, they do get a good, fair amount of stuff in about this character. Mm-hmm. You learn a little bit about the culture. Mm. And we know from watching Lessons that it definitely had an effect on Picard going forward.
Okay.
What do you think of what I just said?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think so.
Do you agree with what I said?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You're about to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understood Lessons more after seeing this episode. Even though even though you showed me Lessons before this one. Mm-hmm. So I get where you're getting at.
Do you think that you would appreciate Lessons on a deeper level now?
Yes. Yes, because I'm like, what? He had a family and yeah. So, but then, I think, number one, we should have spent more time with his wife and kids.
Absolutely.
And also, I think there should have been a better explanation about, why this was happening to him, I guess. You know?
I actually like that.
You like that?
That worked
I don't
for
know.
me.
I just would have wanted to have a little bit more of a specific explanation. Who's Cayman? Who is Cayman?
Cayman isn't real.
Cayman isn't real.
Neither is his wife. I don't think his wife or kids ever existed. What I think this is a composite of different people who lived on the planet during this time where they sent the probe off.
And so they needed someone to be in that life.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, and if it was just a complete simulation where you're playing the role of Cayman, right? He wouldn't be able to interact the way he did with each one.
Well, what was really confusing to me is even if she wasn't real, Aileen still referred to him as her husband.
Because to her, he was.
Right.
She's still a real simulation. She's coming at it from her point of view. Yes, she knows that she's not real, but that doesn't mean that it neglects her feelings for him. Because she's designed to be in love with Cayman.
Okay.
Like a woman from that society is.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
Okay, well, you could be right about that. I don't know. I mean, I was a little bit confused with that, but otherwise I liked it.
All right, maybe it's time to do a little bit of character analysis.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily want to get too much into the members of the society, with one exception. Mm. As a whole, what do you think that was like for them building this probe and not even knowing if it would ever reach anybody or if the technology would work? Because they're assuming everything's going to go right and some part of their culture will be archived, but they don't know for sure. It doesn't happen for like 1,000 years. I
would imagine that it was I'm sure it was probably daunting. And I also think that it was with an uncertainty. Well, what's going to happen? Is our lives going to be archived? Will people forget us? We're not real, but you know, how is this going to work? So I would imagine that it was both undaunting and very uncertain.
How does this experience affect Captain Picard as a leader going forward? Something that you may or may not know about his character, and that I really like, is he's always portrayed as being very uncomfortable around children.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, which I think is cool. And that continues after this episode. And
it's cool. Why?
Because it's like a real thing. Like not everybody likes spending all their time with kids.
Yeah.
And they continue that after this episode, which I think they should have stopped doing that after Inner Light because he's now had experience raising kids. But they didn't do that. But how do you think what type of captain is he because of this experience?
That's a good question. What's the word I'm looking for? I would imagine that he is maybe more appreciative of where he is in his life and that he is grateful for what he learned in that experience, and maybe that he'll take those experiences with him as he leads the Enterprise.
Does this episode make you question reality at all?
No. Because I know what's real and what isn't real.
You think you do?
Yes, I do. I think in the Star Trek universe, it is not uncommon to play with time travel, and I don't think that it has anything to do with our reality. Their reality is different.
Star Trek, of course.
Just a little bit.
What are you doing?
No, because you.
What was I doing?
I need to move my blanket.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't know if you needed to.
Well, it was in my way, so.
Okay. Star Trek, of course, isn't real, but it's maybe an allegory for what could be going on in this reality.
I don't believe so.
Well, we could be the aliens, right? So maybe one day we'll send out a
here we go again.
You hate when I do this.
No, I just come on.
Well, so have you considered, babes, that maybe we are real, but our civilization is not doing too well. So perhaps our government is working on a probe to send out into space. And in 1,000 years from now,
goodness,
somebody will encounter it and basically take the form of Rick.
I think you've been watching way too much sci-fi.
Okay.
Way too much Star Trek. You got to come back to reality, bub.
I'm just saying.
No, I do not think that.
Interesting.
No.
Is there any questions you want to ask me about this episode?
I don't think so. You don't know much about Bataille, the guy who died, right?
No.
You just know they were friends with Cayman and Aileen.
You see him in like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
You see him near the beginning of the episode where he's like talking to the people, and again when he's hanging out with Picard and Jean-Luc is playing with the flute. But that's really about it.
Well, so wait. So he had that experience, and then he had that experience later with the Borg.
No, the Borg is actually before this.
The Borg was before that. So so that's got to be interesting. How would that affect his psyche?
Well, this is actually a good question then. You always think of at least I do, the life of a starship captain is it's cool. I get to have all these fun experiences, and I'm the one calling the shots for the most part. Mm-hmm. But Picard, not only does he have the thing with the Borg, which has to be very traumatic, he has this experience. He's also tortured in Chain of Commands.
Right, yeah.
What do you think we can learn about being the guy in charge by looking at this character?
It comes with definite perks, but it also comes with the downside of going into enemy territories, dealing with making very, very split decisions, whether you agree with them or not. What do you need to do? And then having experiences that could actually affect your mind, like PTSD things. I would imagine it that if Picard was real and he experienced what he experienced in Chain of Command, I would imagine that would have brought on some major PTSD.
Yes.
And now that we know more about what PTSD does.
Knowing all of this, and I know Star Trek isn't real, but if you had to serve aboard a starship, would you want to be the captain or just a regular member of the crew?
I'd rather be a regular member, honestly.
Interesting.
No, because I mean it comes with a lot of cool things, but then you get the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the one, because if if a captain makes one bad decision, it affects his or her leadership. I would imagine with any kind of leader, you make one bad decision or maybe another, two decisions or three decisions, whichever, that's going to be on your record forever. Right.
I agree.
So I wouldn't want to be responsible for that. I wouldn't want people to see me as a very incompetent starship captain.
Very good, Jaylo.
Absolutely.
Then we watched, after seeing Inner Light, I showed you 2 classic episodes of Star Trek. The other one being The City on the Edge of Forever.
And that one was really
series.
good.
Yes, it's like a mini movie.
It is.
Do you want me to give the overview?
Yes.
I've seen this episode probably 15 or 20 times.
It was a little bit confusing because there were, they were playing with time and... Anyway, go on.
Okay.
I think you should...
I don't know how many times I've seen it since I was 9. I'm guessing between 15 and 20, but Here it goes. It starts off, the crew is orbiting this planet, and there's some temporal disruptions that the ship is sort of weathering through. At one point, Sulu gets hurt because of an explosion on the bridge. They call Dr. McCoy up. He injects Sulu with this chemical that's very powerful. We're led to believe that he only gives the helmsman like 2 shots of it, right? Because it can do so much damage if used incorrectly.
Yes.
The ship is still, having these problems. McCoy is trying to put away the hypospray, which is basically like their needle. And he falls and accidentally doses himself. Gives himself like 100 times the dose that Sulu got. He's paranoid, runs off the bridge, attacks the transporter chief, and beams down to the planet. The captain hears about this, organizes a search party, goes down, and they finally find McCoy. But right before then, they find this machine called the Guardian of Forever, who basically is like this gatekeeper of time. And is trying to impress them by showing them images from Earth's past.
Yeah.
Dr. McCoy is knocked out, but he wakes up and runs into the machine.
Yep, he does.
There's a total blackout of communication. They realize that he must have changed history. Luckily, Spock was recording these images on his tricorder and says, we can approximate when we get back if we jump into this machine and maybe get there before the doctor and try to figure out what he did and stop him. Captain gives a speech to the rest of the landing party, basically saying, when you feel you've waited long enough, go in there. And at least you'll be safe somewhere in our past. Jump into the portal machine, I guess you could say, and end up in the 1930s. They're looking around. People are noticing them because they still have on their Starfleet uniform. Eventually, Jim Kirk sees some clothing hanging, grabs it, but now they have a police officer to contend with. They run away, break into this building. I guess they go down this alleyway and open a door. And it's this basement. Put the new clothes on. They look somewhat normal. And a lady comes downstairs. Edith Keeler herself.
Played by Joan Collins.
Captain explains, hey, listen, we had to run. The cops are chasing us because we sold these clothes. Is there anything we can do around here? She tells them, we run a mission. You can clean up this area and I'll give you work. I'll pay you 15 cents an hour each for 10 hours of work a day. They were big pimping back then.
I guess so.
In any event, it fast forwards to they're about ready to eat, and Edith Keeler makes some weird speech about how, one day we're going to send men up into space.
Right, into the moon.
Yeah, and everybody else thinks that she's like a nutty broad.
Right.
But Captain Kirk and Spock are basically talking about, this is an interesting lady.
Yes.
They want to know how they can track down the doctor, because they don't know where he's going to appear. They imagine that there's some focal point, though. Spock says, if you get me the right equipment, I might be able to create a machine that will give us some more insight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so spend all their money on either food or circuitry. At one point, they're working at the mission. Spock sees these tools, breaks into the lock safe, and steals them for the night. Edith Keeler finds out about this and almost kicks him out, but Kirk vouches for him and agrees to take her out on a date.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good time. She really doesn't know about his past still, but he's getting a glimpse at her and is like thinking she knows more than she lets on. I can't figure it out, but she's really, really smart. Eventually, Spock sees this thing on this monitor that he made saying, it's like an obituary from the newspaper from that year, saying Edith Keeler died in a car accident. Mm-hmm. Captain Kirk comes into the room. He pulls up another image, and it's from 1936 of her meeting with the president. Then the machine kind of like overloads, and Spock has to start from scratch. Mm-hmm. The relationship keeps going on with Edith Keeler. Eventually, Spock puts 2 and 2 together because the machine is working again, and he realizes what happens. Edith Keeler wasn't killed by Dr. McCoy. He saved her life, and she's a very much into the peace movement. Because of that, she delayed...
Well, she's a nun.
That doesn't necessarily mean she's into peace.
Okay.
Yeah. She delays the U.S. from getting into World War II, which causes Hitler and Germany to develop the atom bomb and win the war, killing tons of people. There's a great line in the episode where they're talking and Spock says, she was right about peace, but at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Which has always stuck with me.
Right.
By now, McCoy appears. Right? And he's still a little bit crazy because of the drug he took.
Yes.
I think they call it Thorazine, which is a real thing, but I may have it wrong.
I forgot what it was, but it sounds like it could have been Thorazine.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I forgot, but it was the one that was supposed to be taken in a small dose.
Yeah. Anyways, he's walking around. He attacks this homeless guy who basically kills himself by using the phaser.
Yeah. He incinerates himself.
When Dr. McCoy is passed out.
Yeah.
He goes into the mission. Edith Keeler takes him to the back room, gives him a cot to sleep on. It's implied that he's there for a couple of days. At one point, she checks up on him and says, we'll talk about you doing some work later, but my man is taking me to see a Clark Gable movie. He doesn't know who that is. So he thinks it's strange.
Right.
He goes out. She leaves. She almost falls down these stairs, and Captain Kirk saves her. And Spock's like, Captain, that's not cool. This may have stopped this entire thing from happening. He says, we don't know that. They're walking across the street, Captain Kirk and Edith Keeler. Mm-hmm. And Edith Keeler says, I want to see the new Clark Gable movie. Jim doesn't know who that is, and she's like, oh, that's weird. Dr. McCoy doesn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
He stops Edith Keeler and was like, Dr. McCoy is here? Stay right here. He runs across the street just as McCoy is coming out of the mission. Mm-hmm. She sees this and tries to go across the street. And the car comes. Jim at the last minute stops Dr. McCoy from saving her life. She's killed. Mm-hmm. The doctor says, you realize I could have saved her. Do you know what you just did?
Yep.
And Spock's like, he knows, doctor.
Yeah.
He knows.
He knows, yep.
They go back to their time. Everything is restored. The Guardian of Forever says, hey, we can do more stuff like this if you guys are willing to play with me a little bit. And the captain's basically just says, let's get the hell out of here. And that's where the episode ends. This is considered by many, and I'm not sure, but I tend to fall in that category as the best episode of the original series. I think
that was really good.
Amazing. It is like a mini movie.
It is
There
good.
are so many moving parts, and it makes you ask some very interesting questions about life.
Right.
Give me your time. I know you said it's very good, but go a little bit deeper on it.
Well, I think that not only does it play with time, but as I've stated before, I do believe that if you change something in the past, it will affect the future. And I still believe that today. And even though Edith Keeler was a peaceful person, she seemed like a really delightful person. She had to die for that to happen, for for Hitler not to win the war and all these other things that could have happened had she not died, which I thought was kind of interesting that they used her.
I guess we can talk a little bit more about that. What does this episode teach us about being ahead of our time? Because she has to die, but her basic philosophy is correct.
Yeah.
It's just bad timing.
It is very bad timing. I just thought it was so interesting that they used a young woman for them to realize why she had to die, because she was so ahead of her time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What can we learn about sacrificing love from this story?
Well, it's kind of like, if you want to compare it to an episode from DS9, The Visitor, right? Mm-hmm. Remember when I said that somebody had to die in order for someone else to live, right?
Yes.
The older Jake had to die so that the younger Jake would live and be with his father, because he needed his father. That is, I liked how that was portrayed. Someone like Edith Keeler, a nice person, because she was so ahead of her time, had to die so that whatever was supposed to happen was supposed to happen.
But Captain Kirk, who loves her, lets her be sacrificed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that he was willing to do. That's sacrificial love. That is exactly what love should be, I guess.
I want to run by a theory. Mm-hmm. That I'm sure it's not original.
Yeah.
Even though I'd like to believe it is. I haven't heard other people say it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that it... I doubt I'm the first one to come up with this. Mm. Captain Kirk in Star Trek is known as this big ladies man, right? He always gets the girl and has, fun, and then moves on to the next planet. Right.
I did not know that, actually.
Yes. This is kind of why I want to get your perspective as somebody who hasn't seen a lot of him.
Oh, well, I don't know how much insight I could give.
Well, I'm going to offer you a theory base.
All right. Mm-hmm.
My thought is, before this experience, he's had some relationships that are fun and maybe have lasted a little while, but he's never really gone deep with a woman. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Edith Keeler is his first time where he's having a real adult relationship. Mm-hmm. She dies. Mm-hmm. I think he goes back to the ship, cries himself to sleep that night, but also thinks, I got to be strong for my crew, so I have to suppress this. And one of the forms of doing that is continuing to play the role of the ladies' man. And because of this, he never deals with his feelings, and it stunts his growth emotionally. In that area.
Yeah, that might be a correct theory. I mean, some people do that in real life. They never grow from that one breakup, right? Mm-hmm. They break up with someone that they really did love, and that just messes them up even more. And so they revert back to their old way of of relationships. Excuse me, hold on. They revert back to their old ways of dealing with relationships so that they won't have to deal with this one. You might be right about that.
How do you think this episode or experience affects how Spock sees his commanding officer?
Well, I want to hear what you say, and then I have to think more about what I want to say. What do you think?
Okay. There is a misconception that Vulcans don't have emotions. Mm-hmm. That's not true.
I don't think it's true.
No, it's not. They suppress their emotions. They have them, and they try not to acknowledge them.
Right.
And for the most part, they're very successful at that. Mm-hmm. But it's not like they're completely emotionless.
Yeah.
I think, although I would say that it's maybe a little bit harder for them to feel. I don't believe that Spock fully understands love, but he knows enough to get that it affects others on a very deep level.
Well, here's something. I just thought of this. I saw an episode where Spock was learning about the fact that he's half Vulcan. He's Vulcan, and what is it?
He's half Vulcan, half human.
Right. Half Vulcan, half human.
I didn't know that you watched an episode outside of me, babes.
I did.
Okay.
I was sent an episode a long time ago.
Oh.
And I watched it, and it was about his losing his ocelot, and he went back in time to when he was very young, and how was he dealing with it, because Ichaya was his ocelot. I'm guessing it's like a dog, right?
Yeah.
And he wanted him to survive so badly, and he was very much affected by the loss of his ocelot. So I think from that time on, he learned how to suppress his emotions because he was half Vulcan.
He would have learned the lesson anyway, because the Vulcan society is very big on trying not to let your emotions sway you.
Right.
In decision making.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, he was learning a little bit more about his past.
Mm-hmm.
And, why do I suppress my emotions? And I think you're right about that. I think he doesn't understand how humans are affected.
I only gave you one part of the hypothesis, though.
Yes, but I would agree with you on that one.
Okay. He does look up to the captain and respects the fact that he has risen so far into Starfleet in the rank system. Mm-hmm. He considers him a friend. Now, Spock's idea of friendship is probably a little bit different than Captain Kirk's idea, but they respect each other and they're close. We know that. I believe this opportunity makes him understand why the captain is worthy of some form of compassion. Mm-hmm. Because we've all had those experiences to where we'll know somebody and we'll be close with them and we'll like hanging out. Then they'll tell you a story from your past.
From their past?
From their past. And you'll be able to really connect the pieces of what's been going on with them.
Right.
And have a deeper understanding of who they are.
Right, exactly.
This experience gives Spock that feeling of understanding.
I would agree. Mm. Absolutely.
Yes.
Even though he may not fully understand it, he gets the gist of it.
That's my theory.
Yes.
Yes. How does this experience affect McCoy?
In a very big way. I don't know if he suffers from PTSD because of it. Because, remember, they ended up there because... partly because he got hit with that, he was injected with, what that chemical was. I forgot what it was. Yeah. And went crazy. So I would imagine that after that whole chemical thing wore off, right? Because eventually it does. I would imagine that he realizes, oh my goodness, I put them in danger because of this. I mean, I don't know. I could be completely wrong about it.
Interesting.
Like, why did I do this? How could I let this happen?
Yeah. Let me ask you another question. Could you show this episode to somebody who's never seen Star Trek?
I'm not sure how to answer that question, Bubs. Do you think it would be a standalone episode to show somebody?
Oh, I absolutely think that this could be a great introduction to the Star Trek universe.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe I could. I don't know. See, I'm not as well versed in the really into Star Trek like you are, so I can't really answer that question. Yeah. Wait, is that a fair assessment?
You could say that if you want.
Okay, because I don't know how I would be able to do that. Yes. I would have to see more episodes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, babe. Is there anything you want to ask me about the episode?
Do you know who plays the voice of the Guardian of Forever? Because I really like that person's...
I think it was one of the producers of the show.
Because it kind of reminded me of... Well, I don't believe that was the same voice as the Wizard of Oz.
No.
But when I heard it, it sounded like an Oz-like voice.
It's somebody who worked on the series. I know that.
Oh, really? Yeah, yes. I like that. I like the person's voice. It's like, I am the Guardian of Forever. A nice, deep voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, I think that was really good.
All right. Great episode. Like a mini movie.
Yes.
Go out and watch it.
Yes, go out and watch it, please.
Alana.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about As a Lady Vanishes?
The Lady Vanishes.
Or The Lady Vanishes, even
whatever
better.
It's called. So I'm going to try to because it was quite interesting. I believe, does it start out at a hotel?
Yes. And it's getting kind of packed because of this like weird snow incident.
Right. And in this hotel there are these 3 women who are guests. And everybody's getting set up, and there's these 3 women. One of them is named Iris Henderson, who ends up being the main character in this movie, the main woman. She ends up meeting this older woman in this hotel. Her name is Miss Froy.
That happens on the train.
No. She's at the hotel.
But they don't meet there.
Okay, I'm sorry. They don't meet there, I'm sorry. But she is there at the hotel. I think she was talking to somebody else. Some things happen during the night, and this is like in the matter of one evening, I believe, right? Where she's in the room with 2 other women, irises, and there is some kind of music going on upstairs.
Yeah, it's weird. You see the 2 women early on, but
The 2 women, I mean.
What happens is the guy who runs the hotel basically says, y'all can't keep the room. And so the guy who's playing the music comes down, and only Iris is in the room then.
Yeah, right. But you hear a man singing, and he's playing a guitar.
And people were stomping along to the music.
And he sang a certain tune that I'm not gonna get to until much later.
That's the dude on the guitar.
Yes.
That's not the dude who comes downstairs.
No, remember the guy that was singing?
Correct.
Right, yes, that was him.
Yes. So it made it sound like you're talking about they're both doing this in sequence with each other.
No.
Gotcha.
That he was singing, and then he also had the group of people dancing with the clarinet.
He was singing, and then there was also a group of
Yes,
people.
yes,
Gotcha.
exactly. And Iris and the other woman were like, what is going on? What is that? Could you, they're trying to get someone to say, hey, it's too loud.
So homeboy with the clarinet comes down to Iris's room.
I don't know what his name is.
They hang out for a while, and then the next day, Iris leaves on the train. She sits down next to
Miss Froy.
They get into a conversation, go and have some tea.
Mm-hmm.
Iris and Miss Froy come back. Iris closes her eyes for a little bit and then wakes up, and Froy is gone.
Yep, Miss Froy is gone. And so she was trying to find her friend, and she says, hey, I'm trying to find this woman, older woman, and I don't know what her name is, but I know what she looks like. And she was here, I was sitting next to her, and she was gone now. I can't find my friend. And everybody on the train, for the most part, keeps saying, we don't know what you're talking about. We never saw her.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, please.
She finds the clarinet player who believes Iris, and they decide they're going to make it a mission to find out what's really going on. Now, there's a doctor on the train who says, this might be some psychosis. I'm sure this isn't real. Something's going on inside your head. I'm picking up a patient at our next stop, so I can't really help you guys out too much. They go looking around. A series of events happens. Eventually, they come to the conclusion that his patient is Miss Froy.
Mm-hmm.
They confront him about it. There's a nun. He says, okay, this is indeed Miss Froy. I want you guys to go into the other room and wait for me. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. He takes him out to drink in the car. The drinks are supposedly spiked with something.
Mm.
And then he says, okay, wait in this room. He comes over and he says, listen, I spiked your drinks. That is Miss Froy. I'm going to give her surgery. She's going to die. I'm not going to explain it. I poisoned you, but I only gave you guys enough to pass out for a couple hours. You're going to be fine. They pretend to fall asleep. clarinet player opens the window. This scene was actually really cool.
Yeah.
He gets out of the train, and there's another train coming in the opposite direction.
Yeah. And you said, whoa.
Well, the reason is it doesn't look that impressive, but
Yeah.
this was shot in 1934, and it was a lot harder to do something like that.
So he jumped out of that train?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He kept holding on to the one while the other was passing super close to him.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how Hitchcock did that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Now you could probably do that with a college student with a computer in like an afternoon.
Yeah.
But back then, it was much more difficult. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He sneaks into the room with a nun who tells the clarinet player, I was told to poison you guys. I didn't do it. Just hang back. This is all going to work out fine. They replace Mrs. Froy with a dummy.
Yes.
Or with another lady, I'm sorry.
Another lady, yeah.
Doctor goes off the train, takes off the bandages, sees it's the wrong one, comes back on.
Yeah.
There's a scuffle. Now everybody who is still on the train is interested because the government is after them. The German government, I believe.
Yep, I think so.
There's a shootout. Miss Froy tells them, I'm going to leave the train. I'm actually a spy. Mm-hmm. I want you to memorize this melody. When you go back.
And that happens to be, I will say this really quick. That happens to be the melody that the guy at the hotel was singing with the guitar.
When he was killed.
When he was killed, yeah.
Okay. When you go back, I want you to meet with this person in case I don't make it. Sing them the melody. And I'm thinking to myself, she's probably a spy for Germany.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But that's not what happened. They somehow make it out of this. What's your friend's name? The lady?
Iris.
Iris is supposed to meet her fiance, but decides to go with the clarinet player. Fast forward, we're in the office of the person that Miss Froy told them to go and meet.
Yeah.
Clarinet player all of a sudden can't remember the melody. Then he hears somebody playing
on the piano.
They walk in the room and it's Miss Froy playing it and she has a smile on her face and that's when the movie ends.
That's a great ending.
Yes.
So funny.
This isn't my favorite Hitchcock movie, but it's really good.
I liked it.
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't give it a strong 7, but I would give it a 7.
It's definitely at least a 7.
Yeah.
There's some really cool stuff in it.
And there's a lot of comedy, but some of the things didn't make any sense.
It didn't add up for me, and a lot of that could just be our blindness.
I don't know about I don't understand the shootout,
though. Messed up? What? Tell me.
No, I don't understand why. I mean, I know that the government was after them, but then there was like this major shootout.
The way I understand it, and I could be wrong, is that they had to go through Germany, and this is only a couple years before the war. They probably wanted Miss Froy dead, and that's why the shootout started.
Oh, okay.
I'm also not clear about how territories were drawn for different countries back then, because they start up the train and end up going from Germany to a neutral country. Now, having said that, I'm sure that would have had to make logistic sense, considering that Hitchcock was from Europe, right? So I don't think he could have gotten away with making something like that up. I just don't know how it would have worked in reality.
Okay.
Yes. I like this film a lot.
I did too. A lot of funny things.
Yes. This is an interesting take because it's only a couple years before the Second World War.
Yeah.
Or before we got into it, rather.
Right.
Tell me how that affected your watching of the movie.
I don't know because that's a good question. That's a really good question. Would you assume that this is happening during during Hitler's time, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's when the movie was shot, at least.
Okay. Well, I had no expectations going into this, so I did not know anything about it.
Neither did I.
And it's interesting though because this was obviously way before we were born and raised, and having seen it around the time that Hitler was reigning in Germany is it's very interesting to see that.
Yeah, I don't think American films from this period would have the same take.
I don't believe so either. Yeah.
Because there was actually a lot of talk about not getting us into World War II. A lot of interventionists in this country, not just Edith Keeler, but real people. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Real people. Yeah. So it was kind of interesting to see that for what was going on in their time. Mm-hmm. Because it was really going on in their time.
What do Iris and the clarinet player tell us about love?
So she runs off with the clarinet player.
She does.
Oh. And he was the one that was helping them with the investigation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's interesting because you never find out about the fiance, only that she was engaged to marry this guy.
Pretty much it.
You don't know anything about him. I just thought that was kind of strange that she would run off with a clarinet player after all this.
He was writing a book.
Who's writing a book?
That may be on 4 years. I just burped.
Excuse you.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. It was very strange. Kind of funny.
Yes.
It's like a dish running away with a spoon.
I mean, I think what it says is you can be in a heated situation, and because of that, these feelings come up in you, like the maybe subconscious desire to want to breed. Mm-hmm. And you're going to look for somebody who is strong in this particular instance.
Right.
I'm saying all that to come to the point of, I don't know if they stay together.
I don't know either. Maybe it was just
maybe
it's just a temporary thing because, you get into, you're passionate about a cause and that can cause feelings to come up in somebody. You're correct.
What do you think happens that day when they go into the office and they see Mrs. Froy? We see everybody happy, but how does the rest
Miss
of
Froy.
The conversation
I
go?
think they were probably dumbfounded, like, wow, what is up with this lady? We don't know much about her. And why is she smiling? Mm-hmm. And they're probably like, what? They probably were just dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to think about this woman.
Do you like that we never get an answer to why the guitar player was killed?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm different in the sense that sometimes I want to have explanations.
See, I'm up in the air about this one.
I don't know. I just don't get it. I wonder if I don't even know what the reason why he would be killed though. He was just a guy that was on a guitar and singing.
It's possible he was a German spy. Who knows?
He had a beautiful voice too.
He did.
Nice baritone.
He did. Or it's possible he was a spy for Britain and a German person killed him.
Maybe.
I don't know. A German member of the army.
We just don't know much about this guy. Yes. Maybe that was her fiance. I don't know. I'm just kidding. No, it wasn't. Yeah, because we don't know much about her fiance, Iris's fiance, and this guy. Yeah. Yes. We don't know if he even has any connections to Miss Froy.
That's right, people.
It's possible that, he may have, because he sang that same tune.
Nice. Is there anything else you want to say about this episode?
Movie.
I'm sorry, I'm not with it today. I didn't sleep well last night.
I didn't either.
You kept me up making
No, we're going to get to that later. Excuse me. We're going to get to that later. By the way, that was you doing that, not me.
You kept me up till 3 a.m. telling me all this weird jokes.
No, that was not me. Anyway, it was a good movie.
Yes.
I think I might need a nap afterwards. Yeah.
Then we watched a movie called Bombshell from 1933.
And that was a really good movie. That was a lot of fun.
Do you want me to give a brief overview or would you?
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Okay. And I'm going to make this super brief because I can tell that I'm zoning out a little bit just because I'm tired.
As am I.
I believe it's Jean Harlow.
Yes.
Plays this actress who's famous. And she has this very nutty life. Mm-hmm. Like, she has a maid who will throw parties when Jean Harlow is out of the house. Her father's this weird alcoholic.
And her brother was a
gambler.
In jail.
Yes. I think he was just a gambler. Maybe he was in jail.
No, because remember her brother was Hugo?
I know that.
I think. She played Lola Burns. I think her brother was Hugo.
Okay, we're off today, but
anyway.
There's some issues with her brother.
Yeah.
And there's also this newspaper man named Hamlin, nicknamed Space.
Space, yep.
Who we get the impression used to be in a romantic relationship with her and wants Harlow back.
I don't think so. I think he loved her, but he didn't. She never liked him. It was. I don't think she.
You don't think they ever went out?
No, I think that he wanted to go out with her because he was in love with her, but she basically can't stand this guy because he's this, he's a cheat, right?
Okay. Yes.
I would imagine.
So Jean Harlow goes out with this dude who Hamlin has arrested for no reason. And she freaks out, has to get $3,000. It takes a while.
Yeah, that was Jim, I think.
Yes. I'm trying to give it like a, quick overview.
Yes.
She's upset with Hamlin. Eventually somebody from Ladies Home Journal comes to her place and talks about, you should have a baby. They're so much fun. So Jean Harlow goes to try to adopt a kid.
And she really wants to adopt this little boy.
Yeah, to the point to where they make an appointment for later that day for the adoption agency to come over and talk to her. Hamlin arranges for her boyfriend to get released from jail at the time. Also, her brother is coming into town. He's drunken with some crazy lady. So as he's talking to the people from the adoption home, there's like this huge fight that breaks out.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I have to ask you something. Was her boyfriend the guy that she had to get her dad $3,000 from her dad?
Adjustments in that, babes.
Oh, okay. So that may have been Hugo. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay, this is why I'm doing it.
The brother wasn't arrested. Sorry.
Okay, I know. So there's this huge fight. She can't get custody of the kid. She's upset with everybody for acting like animals and decides that she's basically gonna quit acting.
Yes.
Goes to this retreat. The studio is upset because if this movie that she was working on doesn't get any reshoots, they're gonna lose a ton of money. The family wants her back because she's a great meal ticket.
Yes.
And Hamlin wants her to return because he's in her.
Yes, he is.
Finds out where she's staying, goes over. He's talking to her. She doesn't really want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Jean Harlow goes riding this horse, meets this incredible man who comes from this rich family. I think his last name was Worthington.
No. His name was Gifford Middleton.
Middleton, okay. And Middleton has never seen the pictures, doesn't know who she is.
Is giving her all these compliments, and they're from Boston.
Yes, super rich.
Super rich.
She's excited about this. She thinks she has a real man on her hands. Middleton's parents are visiting.
Yep.
They're coming to the resort in a couple of days. So Hamlin arranges for, what's Jean Harlow's character's name?
Lola.
Lola's brother and father
to meet them.
Yes, to come to brunch around the same time. The Middletons are very, very conservative, so we say.
They're very posh.
Yes.
They're very they're very high. They're like from a higher society, right?
Exactly. They're
high society.
High acidity, as Biggie might say.
High acidity?
Yeah.
High society.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the table, her family causes a ruckus. The Middletons are upset. They realize that this is the same girl who's been all over the newspapers, and not in a good way. Mm-hmm. She eventually goes to see the son. Later that night, he says, "My parents are saying I should break up with you, and I've never gone wrong by taking their advice." So he dumps Jean Harlow. Mm-hmm. We find out that the Middletons are not a real family.
They're actors.
They're actors hired by Hamlin.
I thought that was hilarious.
Harlow returns to Hollywood and eventually hears these people arguing, puts it together, runs off of the studio lot, goes into a car. Hamlin jumps in the car, she's yelling at him, and then the movie ends.
And the dogs, she had those dogs.
Yes. I did a horrible job of recapping this movie, but I think it's a lot of fun.
I thought it was hilarious.
I give it a strong 7 or an 8.
I would give it a strong 7 or an 8. Yes. It's really funny.
This is my first time watching a Jean Harlow film.
What was even sad is that she dies like 4 years after this movie was
in real
made.
Life.
In real life,
yes.
Yeah, it was very sad.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
she was really good. Yes.
Connecting it to something we talked about a few weeks ago. she was the godmother of Millicent Siegel, who was portrayed in the movie Bugsy.
Right. Wow.
But you don't see Jean Harlow as a character in there.
No. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes. All right. What does Lola teach us about not surrounding yourself by the right people?
A lot. So when we first saw the movie, I thought, oh man, this lady's a diva. She wants this and this and this, and they're kind of waiting on her hand and foot, and then she's got a hairstylist and makeup artist and all these other things, and I got it, and she's very, very like, I want this done, right? And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what to think about this woman. But then you see about her very dysfunctional father, because her father is like not a raging alcoholic, but he's an alcoholic. And her brother has a gambling problem. And the writer for the newspaper is like really into her, and she's very upset with him. And it's like, and she admitted that she was a star because her father forced her to be a star when she was younger, is what I'm guessing, right?
I think so.
She's forced into stardom. So she wasn't able to make that choice. And how her father is saying, after all I did for you, just very, very dysfunctional background. And the people around her were, well, maybe not Loretta. Or Winters. He was kind of funny too. Yes.
People who worked for her.
People who worked for her weren't, dysfunctional except for the people that were very close to her. So, and I think she just was trying to get away from that and couldn't get away from it.
What do you think it was like for Jean Harlow to play this role?
I could imagine that might have been really fun. I mean, by then she was already famous, but I would imagine that she probably had fun with this movie. Mm. Yeah. She was really good.
Yes.
Super good.
It's unfortunate that we have so few examples of her acting.
Mm. There might be some, but...
Well, there are some.
I mean, there might be...
an example.
No, I know that, but I mean, there might be other things. I mean, I don't know much about this woman, but yeah, it's how would it have turned out if she were alive and she was able to make more movies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would she be a kind of a Lola Burns?
We don't know.
I don't know. We'll never know, I guess.
If she was still alive, she'd only be 110.
That's a long time.
That's true.
Yes.
I mean, what can we learn about manipulation from Hammond?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I thought he was pretty shady from the beginning. Although very, very funny. Shady. It was almost like he loved her, but he wanted his part, right?
Yes.
Well, what can I get from this, even though I love this girl so much? How can I manipulate her into wrapping her around my finger? Kind of a conniving cheat, Yes. Very conniving, but very funny at the same time. Wasn't really really interested in her well-being, but more interested in his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie deserves more analysis. I can tell that I'm starting to drift off a little bit, though.
That's okay.
So unfortunately, we're not going to get that here. But is there any other questions about the movie that you would like to ask me?
Well, I think that we can continue. We can go further into it in the next episode, but
okay. Maybe we'll make a note to return to this movie.
Just remember that.
Yes.
I thought it was kind of funny that the dogs were added into the mix. I don't know. They're kind of along for the ride, but I'm getting a little tired myself, actually.
Do you regret keeping me up last night with all your crazy
I
jokes?
did not do that. You're the one that was making jokes. And I said, you have to stop this. I mean, and they were they were jokes that I shouldn't have been laughing at.
No, but you were laughing hard last night.
I was, and it was your fault.
And at one point, babes, I just want to make you laugh because I chose the subject and you thought it was a little bit too risque, and we don't have to say what it is here.
No.
But and I said I just want to make you laugh. You can choose the next topic, and you did, and I made that really funny.
Yeah, that was kind of funny actually.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah.
I'm starting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep, but I'm gonna.
Well, I am a little worried that if I don't get a nap and if you don't rest, then we're not going to be able to go on with the rest of the day.
We will.
We will, but it's going to be a little bit tough.
Touch and go.
Touch and go, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I babos.
Well, all right. Well, we have to end here, but
I don't know if this was our best one, but it definitely was one.
It was one, but we will continue on with more analysis of
movies
of that one.
Yes.
And other stuff.
Yes. All right, give me a kiss.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jay. Well.
All right.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.